Welcome to Wolf Recaps. In the opening scene of the movie, we are introduced to our protagonist Yang, the daughter of the powerful Black Dragon boss in Hong Kong. As she attends one of her father's high-profile gatherings, tensions rise when members from a rival gang try to belittle her in an attempt to embarrass her father. However, Yang refuses to back down. With poise and grace, she skillfully dances around the hall and showcases her impressive swordsmanship, impressing the guests. But things take a dangerous turn when one of the members purposely shatters a glass and throws the shards on the ground, causing Yang's foot to bleed. Despite the pain, Yang perseveres, somersaulting and wielding her sword with finesse, refusing to let the members see her falter. However, the guests' jeers and laughter intensify, and our young protagonist's frustration boils over. With a swift and powerful movement, she stabs the hand of the member who threw the glass shards earlier. Due to this, other members become hostile, but Yang's father soon settles the matter. Unsatisfied with the punishment, Yang tracks the leader of the gang the next day. She finds him in a station and slits his throat, killing him on the spot. After the funeral of the deceased gang member, tensions escalate as one of the high-ranking members vows to avenge his fallen comrade by targeting Yang. Fearing for his daughter's safety, Yang's father arranges for her to be sent to his trusted friend, Big Boss, a powerful gangster based in Korea. In the subsequent scene, Han Ki-chul, a low-ranking member of Big Boss's gang, is tasked with looking after Yang. Due to his supposed ability to understand Chinese, however, the reality is that Ki-chul has no knowledge of the language whatsoever. The following day, Ki-chul and his entourage head to the airport to pick up Yang, expecting a male gangster. To their surprise, they're met by a strikingly beautiful woman who radiates a chilly demeanor towards them. Adding to the communication barrier, none of them can speak Yang's language, and she is equally unfamiliar with Korean. This creates an immediate sense of tension and unease between Yang and her new caretakers. Later, Yang meets with Big Boss, who warmly welcomes her and tells her to make herself comfortable during her stay in Korea. He also says that she can boss around Ki-chul and his underlings as long as she's here. After a while, Ki-chul and his men drive Yang to their home. The boys start displaying their fighting skills, trying to show Yang who is the boss. But little do they know that she is an A-star fighter. Shortly after, a translator called Yan arrives to assist in communication between Yang and the gangsters. She is immature and very scared of the gangsters, so in the beginning, instead of translating Yang's rather rude answers, she changes them to nice ones to prevent provoking the gangsters. Yang then makes an important request to her caretakers. She wants to find her missing mother, who was last heard to be in Korea. The next day, Ki-chul's minions are bothered by some members from another gang. They're outnumbered, but thankfully, Yang is also at the scene. So she teaches the opponents a good lesson by kicking a small table toward them and making them fall on the floor. Then, Ki-chul's minions start beating them one by one. Eventually, the opponents flee from the scene with multiple bruises all over their bodies. That evening, Yang, the translator, and the gangsters go to a diner to have some meals and drinks. After getting drunk, Ki-chul and one of his minions go to the bathroom to relieve themselves. Suddenly, the rival gang from earlier arrives at the diner, seeking revenge for the earlier fight. They try to harass Yang and the translator while kicking the remaining minions. However, our brave protagonist is not going to leave without a fight. Hence, she strikes back, throwing chopsticks straight at the opponents. This gives her an advantage as she performs some powerful kicks on the gangsters, sending them away in fear. It was a one-woman fight against a group of men. Next, one of Ki-chul's minions reports the situation to him as he's still in the washroom. Ki-chul is too drunk, so he doesn't believe the story of Yang fighting off the gangsters alone. Later, the defeated rival gang members report back to their leader, making the Ki-chul gang their prime target. After doing some research on the gang, Ki-chul and Yang are invited to the rival gang's headquarters. When they arrive, they're surprised to learn that Ki-chul's minions have already been gathered and beaten up. This enrages Ki-chul, so he starts hustling with the boss of the rival gang. However, due to his mediocre fighting techniques, he does not put on much of a show. Thankfully, Yang lends him a hand. She grabs a nearby plate and flicks a peanut straight to the boss's face. As the latter loses his balance, Ki-chul manages to maintain the upper hand as he rams the opponent's head on the ground. Following this, the rival members quickly surround him and start beating him with bats and punches. Despite being outnumbered, Ki-chul remains on his guard to fulfill his duty of protecting Yang. However, our skilled fighter, Yang, has seen enough. So she sets Ki-chul aside, readying herself to fight with a group of rivals. Though she's also outnumbered, Young manages to land some powerful kicks and injure her opponents. In seconds the rivals are all lying helplessly on the floor while Ki-chul stands shocked, finally realizing Young's exceptional fighting skills. Shortly after their victory, Ki-chul and the group decide to return home. He and his minions, who are rather unskilled, are impressed and become afraid of the mighty woman. Later that evening, Ki-chul and Young relax together outside in the garden for some drinks. It's obvious that the language barrier between the two exists, but Ki-chul starts feeling attracted to Young. She also seems to enjoy his company. The following morning, all the group members sit together for breakfast. Young starts to become kinder to them compared to the rudeness she carried with herself when she was new. However, the translator now starts translating into rather commanding sentences in order to inflict some fear on Ki-chul's minions. Turns out, she enjoys making fun of them. Later, Ki-chul and his minions go to their headquarters and see that the rival gang's boss is there to admit defeat. Impressed by this, Big Boss promotes Ki-chul from a low-rank gangster all the way up to being his right-hand man. Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, the member of the higher gang is still determined to take revenge on Young. So he sends some professional assassins to go after Young. Back in Korea, Young and the group are having some good times in a town when they're suddenly interrupted by the arrival of the assassins. At first, they believe the assassins are after Ki-chul, but soon they learn that Young is their actual target. She's accused of killing a gangster in Hong Kong, triggering a gangster war there. As the assassins begin their ambush, Ki-chul's minions manage to get away, but Young is injured when they fire a shot at her while taking cover. Ki-chul reports the incident to his big boss. Once they arrive home, they think of ways to protect themselves from the assassins. Unfortunately, they soon learn that the assassins have already arrived in the neighborhood. They then separate into two groups, Young with Ki-chul and the translator with the minions. In the next scene, Ki-chul and Young drive away in a car as they're chased by the assassins. Thankfully, they manage to slip away after the bad guy's van rams into a passing truck. The two then decide to take refuge in Ki-chul's family home. It becomes a good place for them to relax for a while and take a breath of fresh air. Ki-chul's parents believe that Young is his girlfriend and give him a family necklace to gift her. The couple then spends the night safe and sound at home, not caring about what lies ahead. However, in Hong Kong, we learn that Young's father isn't safe. After having a meeting with one of his higher-level members, the place suddenly explodes, injuring him seriously. Following their short getaway, Young and Ki-chul reunite with the others. Young excuses herself to try and call her father, but the assassins suddenly appear in the neighborhood. A deadly fight ensues, and Young manages to throw two of her daggers straight at the assassins, killing them on the spot. Now, only the leader of the group is left, who also happens to be an alpha female. Soon after, the two of them get into a powerful duel, each showing off their fantastic sword skills. They dodge each other's attacks and strike back at each other equally. However, the opponent leader proves to be more powerful. In the end, she slightly injures Young. Hence, our protagonist decides to use her intelligence and hides in a big stack of hay. The leader then stabs all over the stack, but Young manages to strike her from below, injuring her fatally. After the fight, Young finally discovers her mother's whereabouts and rushes to meet her. However, upon arrival, she learns that her mother has already found a new family and is living happily. Hence tearfully, Young leaves without making contact. Following this, she leaves Korea despite Ki-chul's confession of love. Once she arrives in Hong Kong, she witnesses her father barely clinging to life from severe injuries caused by the earlier explosion. Shortly after, he passes away after catching a final glimpse of his daughter. The next day, Ki-chul unexpectedly appears in Hong Kong to support Young. He offers her the family necklace and receives a kiss in return. However, Young remains determined to seek revenge on the person responsible for her father's murder. Cut to the next scene, Young attends the wedding of the rival who is responsible for killing her father. The main boss is also present at the wedding. Young disguises herself as the bride to get close to the boss. As she and the groom receive blessings from the boss, Young suddenly pulls out a sword and slashes him. Chaos erupts at the wedding as the rival gangsters prepare to attack Young. However, before they can subdue her, Ki-chul and his minions also arrive, with the leveled battlefield. Our protagonist Young, with her exceptional skills, single-handedly takes down several gangsters while also evading all the gunshots. Sensing the danger, the rival boss flees, and Young follows him. However, after a while she ends up alone in a dark tunnel with a group of opponent henchmen. Despite the odds stacked against her, Yang swiftly outsmarts and injuring and incapacitating them with her powerful kicks. Even the boss's right-hand man is no match for her, since she dodges his gunshots and strikes him with a dagger to the chest. Eventually, Yang faces the boss once again. But he is now injured. She engages him in a duel with her two swords, but the boss smirks at there, pulls out his gun and firing at her. Unfortunately, Yang is hit with a shot in her leg, making her position vulnerable. The boss then gives an evil laugh as he points the gun at Yang's head. It seems like Yang is about to be killed. However, Kichul appears and draws the boss's attention away from her. In the chaos, the boss shoots Kichul, causing him to fall from a tall building. Grieving but seizing the opportunity, Yang closes in on the boss and delivers a lethal slash, ultimately killing him in an act of desperation. She then throws her knife, piercing the boss's chest and sending him plummeting of the building to his death. After the victory, Yang sets out to search Kichul and discovers that he survived the fall, landing safely in a passing garbage truck. In the next scene, we see Yang officially takes over as the new boss of the Black Dragons, succeeding her father. Meanwhile, Kichul heads to the airport to leave Hong Kong. However, Yang's father's right-hand man advises her not to let Kichul go, reminding her of her father's regret over letting her mother leave. Taking this advice to heart, Yang intercepts Kichul on his way to the airport with her gangsters and makes a bold move. She proposes to him. The movie ends on a heartwarming note as Kichul accepts Yang's proposal, and they embrace on the motorway with the future looks bright for the new power couple of the Hong Kong underworld.
Thank you for joining us on Wolf Recaps. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more exciting recaps.